Hello and welcome to the Will or Trust What's Your Plan podcast. I'm Terrence Quinn, an estate planning attorney dedicated to helping families like yours secure their futures and protect their assets. In this podcast, we're going to be talking about a lot of different things along those lines, and I want to make sure I give you great information to help you move forward with your plan in the right kind of way. Welcome to episode 1. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about just how to get started, just the basics of estate planning. I'm going to read a little clip from my book here, chapter 1. As you embark on this journey through the world of estate planning, it's essential to start with a conversation, a frank, honest dialogue about the future. It might seem uncomfortable or even morbid to think about what happens after we're gone, but this is precisely why estate planning, including wills or trusts, is so crucial. Get the book. It's good information in there. Let's jump into this first episode and let me just touch on a few things just to get started. So wills, trusts, and estate planning, how prepared are you? And I want you to ask yourself that question. How prepared are you? Think of these two major questions. I think these are two of the four most important questions that everybody will deal with at some point in their lifetime. Actually, I think there are only two questions in all life more important than these two, but here's the two for now. Number one, what happens to your assets or your children if you died? And think about that. Think about it for yourself right now. If you didn't make it tomorrow, and I know we don't like to consider this, but I need you to right now. It's that important. If you didn't wake up tomorrow, what would happen to the assets that you have? No matter how much or how little, what would happen? Or your children? I have two teenage kids right now at the time of this recording. What would happen to them if I didn't wake up tomorrow? The assets that I've built, what would happen? The second question is equally important, but we forget about that sometime. If tomorrow you woke up and didn't realize it because you couldn't make decisions for yourself. So if you suddenly could not make decisions for yourself, who would have the power and authority to make decisions for you starting tomorrow? And maybe more importantly, what would they decide? Are they going to do what you want them to do? My whole world revolves around helping people deal with those two questions, and I think they're crucial to deal with. Here's some things I want to talk about. First of all, estate planning is important for everybody. It doesn't matter if you're wealthy or broke. Both extremes and everybody in between, you have to put a plan in place right now. If you're 18 years old and older, you need an estate plan in place right now, and you do not want to leave it to state law. You don't want to leave it to that because probably it's not going to happen in the way that you wanted it to. So when we think about that, a lot of people feel that estate planning is only for wealthy people. If I had one person come to me, if I had $1 for every person that came to me and said, oh, I don't have that much, I'd probably be a wealthy man. I don't need to plan. I'd probably be even more wealthy because that's a common misconception that it's only for people like Bill Gates and Oprah Winfrey. Well, that's not true. Everyone, regardless of your wealth, regardless of your age, if you're over 18, you got to put a plan in place. Otherwise, state law is going to determine what happens with everything. Secondly, in the process of planning, the use of wills or trusts are essential. Here's the key. Write this down. If you're 18 years old or older, you definitely need to have at least a will put in place. Now, in later times, later in this podcast, we're going to be talking about the difference between wills and trusts. But for now, for episode 1, know that if you're 18 years old or older, you at least need a will. I don't care if you don't own anything, but you at least need a will. And third point for today, having a plan in place is not just for you to relieve your stress, but it also makes sure you're not leaving, as best as possible, you're not leaving conflict and chaos for your heirs. And it simplifies the world for them after you're gone. Think about it. You're going to be gone. Hopefully they love you. You're their loved one, and they're going to be grieving you being gone. While they're grieving the loss of you, do you also want them fighting with people? Also want them having to navigate wars between lawyers and judges are involved and court costs and court rules? Is that what you want for your loved ones? Well, that's why I'm saying, and that's why I say on a daily basis, all across the country and even the world, I teach in workshops and webinars that you have to put a plan in place right now. Let's dig into some questions. So why should everyone, regardless of their wealth, have an estate plan in place? Well, we kind of touched on it already, but one of the major reasons, it has nothing to do with your wealth. Remember that second question, what happens if you can't make decisions for yourself anymore? Who would make decisions for you? That has nothing to do with your wealth. If you're in the hospital and doctors are trying to determine what treatment to give you or whether or not they should pull the plug or whatever it would be, if it's a decision about whether or not you should be in a nursing facility and which one, if it's a decision about who should be making those decisions, Shouldn't you be in control of that if you have the ability to? Through the use of estate planning, you do have the ability, but you can only do it while you have the capacity, which is why I'm urging everybody everywhere I can to make sure you take care of this business while you still can. Here's a thought. Estate planning is the process where you tell us what you want to have happen at a time that you can no longer tell us what you want to have happen. I'm gonna say it one more time just to make sure people in the back understand. Estate planning is the process where you tell us what you want to have happen at a time that you can no longer tell us what you want to have happen because you're either gone or you incapacitated. That means you gotta put it in place during the time where you're here and have full capacity. So regardless of your wealth, you need a plan in place. One, to make sure your wishes are carried out correctly. And two, to make sure that your family, as much as possible, can be left with a cool plan, a good roadmap regarding decisions around you and your assets. Now, one other point. Later episode, we'll jump on this, but the reason you want to make sure you use an attorney who truly specializes in this area is because we know how to help you write that plan in a way that presents the least likelihood of a successful challenge. People can challenge anything that you put in place. I get that question all the time. If we put a trust in place, people can't challenge it, right? Absolutely wrong. People can challenge anything. The question is, will they be successful in turning over what you put in place? If you use an estate planning attorney who knows what they're doing, the answer should be no, they won't be successful. And your plan is what will stand. That's what we're going to be getting into in these episodes that are coming. How do trusts differ from wills? Let's deal with that right now. So at a fundamental level, and we'll dig into this a bit more in later episodes, at a very fundamental and basic level, the difference between a will and a trust is probate court. So before we get into all the fancy asset protection stuff, before we get into how your heirs will receive everything, at a very basic level within the world of estate planning, the difference between a will and a trust is probate court. If you're okay with your family going to probate court while they're grieving you being gone, then maybe a will is sufficient for you. It's going to be a lot cheaper than a trust, a lot cheaper than a trust. But a will is promising, a will only is promising your family that they are going to go to probate court, period. Secondly, the trust is the best way, in my opinion, to avoid or eliminate the possibility or the likelihood that your family is going to go to probate court. That's the difference, probate court. I'll just tell you now, a will is nothing more than a letter to the court, letting the court know who you want in charge of your case. It used to be called executor. Now it's called personal representative in most states. And number two, who gets everything after the whole court process. A trust, when created correctly and handled correctly, is the best tool, in my opinion, that you use to make sure your family stays out of probate court. It's going to cost you a lot more. We'll dig into that later. It's going to cost you a lot more. However, you get what you pay for. And if you're okay paying for your family to go through court, then you probably are okay just doing a will. But if you're one of those who wants to make sure your family does not have to get caught up in court, then you want to look into a trust. More on that later. The last question I'm going to touch on now for this episode before we finish is, how does having an estate plan provide peace of mind for your family? Imagine this. You've just passed. You're gone now. Your family, as I said earlier, is grieving you being gone. Well, hopefully they're grieving that. Hopefully they liked you enough to grieve it. Playing around with that. But they're grieving you being gone. Imagine you having a blueprint in place that tells them very clearly what you wanted to have happen. Maybe there's a family member who you suspect will cause conflict because they want that one asset and that's not where you want it to go, and they're going to challenge that that's what you wanted. Well, if it's in writing in a way that presents the least likelihood of a successful challenge, as I said earlier, because you had an estate planning experienced attorney put it in place for you, it gives them that plan and that blueprint. Even that family member can say, this isn't my decision. This is what mom put in place. This is what she said. It's written right here. Or this is what dad wanted to make sure happened. I'm not doing this. I'm just following the plan. Imagine how much pressure that does take off. There's going to be some in that situation, but imagine how much less pressure is involved because you took the time to make sure you gave them clear direction regarding what should happen. On that question about pulling the plug, can you imagine being in that situation where you're the one who's being asked, should they take your parent off of life support? If you say yes, you feel like you helped kill your parent. If you say no, you feel like you're making them suffer longer. So imagine if you've already dealt with that in a way that we know was you, and it's very clear how you wanted them to proceed. It's tough for them anyway, because they're watching you go through it, but at least they don't have to bear the burden of making that tough decision because you've already planned correctly. So my question to you is, are you prepared? Have you planned correctly already? Watch all of these episodes, because through these episodes of this podcast, I'm going to be taking you through how to think about these different issues so that you can be equipped to make the right decisions, and hopefully, you'll be motivated and encouraged to do it now. Last thing I want to say on that point is this: please do not delay. I'm doing this podcast because I'm trying to get you to move right now. Act on it today. Schedule your meeting with an estate planning attorney who has history doing this and experience doing this. Schedule that meeting now. Don't wait till the episodes are over. Schedule it now, then keep watching these episodes so you'll know how to approach that meeting and approach that process. But for now, get it done. Don't wait and don't delay. As you're listening, you might be wondering, what's the next step for me? If you're ready to start securing your family's future, head over to tquinn25.com and book a free consultation with me. Together, we'll create a plan tailored to your specific needs. But don't wait. Your future deserves it. That's it for this episode of Will or Trust, What's Your Plan? I hope you found today's discussion valuable and are feeling more confident about your estate planning journey. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on more strategies to protect your legacy and your loved ones. Until next time, take care of what matters most.